Picture this. No stove, no lighter, no campfire crackling in the dark. Just you, a rock, and something dead. 2 million years ago, one of your ancestors is crouched over a carcass on the African savanna, and there is no fire anywhere in sight. No smoke, no warmth, no cooked anything. And they are about to eat. Right now, somewhere in your kitchen, there's a stove you didn't even think twice about turning on this morning. That's not normal. That's not even close to normal. For the overwhelming majority of human history, food came straight off the bone, straight off the plant, straight into the mouth, raw. So here's the real question hiding under the obvious one. It's not what did they eat. It's how did a soft-toothed, small-jawed, weak-stomached primate survive for over 1 million years without ever cooking a single meal? Because the answer isn't berries and leaves like some prehistoric salad bar. The truth is bloodier, weirder, and honestly a lot smarter than that. Let's get into it. The oldest solid evidence we have for what early humans were eating comes from a place called Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, a site so important to human origins that paleoanthropologists basically treat it like sacred ground. Around 2 million years ago, early members of our genus, Homo, were leaving behind piles of broken animal bones alongside simple stone tools, sharp-edged flakes and choppers archaeologists call Oldowan tools. And on many of those bones, cut marks, straight, deliberate scrape marks from stone tools slicing meat off bone. In plain English, these weren't opportunistic nibblers picking at leftovers. They were butchering animals, deliberately, with tools they made specifically for the job. But here's the thing nobody tells you. There's no evidence of fire at these sites. None. So every bit of that meat, the fat, the marrow, the flesh, went into a mouth completely raw. That's not a diet of desperation. That's a diet of strategy. Because you don't invent a butchering tool for food you're too scared to eat. Here's where your own body becomes the evidence. Look at your jaw. Go ahead, feel it. Now compare that mentally to a chimpanzee's thick, powerful, built like a nutcracker. Ours is small, weak, relatively speaking. And scientists have actually traced part of that difference to a single gene mutation, one that weakened human jaw muscles roughly 2 to 2.4 million years ago, almost exactly when raw meat eating shows up in the fossil record. Why does that matter? Because a smaller jaw only works if your food is easier to chew. And raw meat, pounded and sliced with stone tools, is dramatically easier to eat than raw meat torn apart with teeth alone. Here's where it gets interesting. That same softer food shift may have freed up space in the skull. Space that, over time, got used for something else entirely. A bigger brain. So next time your jaw aches from wisdom teeth that don't even fit in your mouth anymore, that's not bad luck. That's 2 million years of trading chewing power for brain power, and your skull still hasn't caught up. Now, eating raw meat off a carcass is one thing. But when do we see the first proof that early humans weren't just scavenging, they were planning? Some of the earliest cut-marked bones, found at sites in Ethiopia dating back over 3 million years, show marks from stone flakes used to strip meat and smash bones open for marrow, well before our genus, Homo, even officially existed. That means the ancestors making these marks weren't modern humans. They were something more primitive, already figuring out that bone marrow was worth the effort to crack open. Translation: before we were human in the strict sense, something in our lineage had already learned a hard truth. The best calories aren't always the easiest ones to get to. Sometimes you have to break something open to get to the good stuff. Here's the twist. Marrow is basically raw, liquid fat sealed inside a bone vault predators can't crack. Our ancestors found the workaround. No fire required. Just a rock, patience, and hunger sharp enough to make you creative. Now, here's where we have to be careful because the fossil record has a serious blind spot. Plants don't fossilize the way bones do. A handful of raw tubers, wild greens, or fruit eaten 2 million years ago leaves behind nothing. No cut marks. No residue that survives millions of years of soil, rain, and time. Meat gets remembered because bone is tough. Plants just vanish. So when we say early humans ate meat, that's not the whole diet. It's just the part that left a trace. Researchers strongly suspect plant foods made up a huge portion of the early human diet, but the physical proof rotted away before anyone could dig it up. That's the uncomfortable part of studying ancient diets. It's not that the evidence says early humans barely ate plants. It's that the evidence for plants simply couldn't survive to tell us anything at all. which means the true before-fire diet may be permanently, frustratingly, half invisible. For decades, one theory dominated the story of early human diets, the man-the-hunter idea, picturing early humans as skilled, coordinated hunters bringing down big game. But when researchers took a closer look at those old-away bones under microscopes, something didn't add up. Many of the cut marks from human tools overlapped with tooth marks from carnivores, and in some cases the carnivore marks came first. Translation: our ancestors weren't always the hunters. Often, they were the scavengers, moving in after lions or hyenas had already fed, cracking open bones the big predators couldn't crush, stealing the leftovers nobody else wanted. That theory was doubted, debated, and dismissed by plenty of scientists who found it, frankly, unflattering. Nobody wants their ancestors to be the opportunistic leftover grabbers of the savannah. But the bones don't care about our egos. And it turns out being smart enough to scavenge safely was its own kind of genius. Here's the thing. This wasn't a one-time trick pulled off by one lucky group in one corner of Africa. Chimpanzees and bonobos, our closest living relatives, still eat almost everything raw today. Meat included, torn apart and consumed on the spot. No processing beyond their own hands and teeth. And more tellingly, historically documented hunter-gatherer groups across radically different environments. Arctic tundras, tropical rainforests, arid deserts. All independently developed diets built around raw or minimally processed fat, organ meat, and marrow whenever fire wasn't practical or available. That's not a coincidence. That's convergent survival logic. Different continents, different climates, different species even, and the same core strategy keeps showing up, because raw fat and marrow are simply some of the densest, most efficient calories available in the wild. Here's the honest answer. This wasn't a fluke of one desperate population. It's a pattern baked into primate biology itself. So why go through all that effort? Smashing bones, scavenging kills, risking a run-in with a hyena over scraps, instead of just grazing on plants all day? Because raw plants alone are a losing bet, calorically. They're bulky, low in fat, and require enormous amounts of chewing and digesting for relatively little energy return. Meat and marrow flip that equation entirely: dense, fast, efficient fuel. And that fuel mattered because the human brain is brutally expensive to run. It burns a huge share of the body's daily energy just idling. Researchers call this the expensive tissue hypothesis. The idea that as our ancestors' guts shrank, their brains could grow, but only if diet quality went up to compensate. That's not a coincidence. That's a trade. Smaller gut, bigger brain, powered by nutrient-dense raw fat and meat instead of hour after hour of leaf chewing. Every skull-cracked bone, every scavenged carcass, that wasn't just survival. That was quite literally brain food. Here's the uncomfortable part. That raw, resourceful, nothing-wasted way of eating marrow, organs, fat, foraged plants, every calorie fought for and respected, didn't stay that way. Over thousands of years, as agriculture, then industry, then mass food production took over, that hard-won relationship with food got stripped down, processed, and repackaged. The very things our ancestors prized most, organ meats, marrow, fat, became the parts we throw away today, replaced with cheap, calorie-dense, nutrient-poor substitutes that require zero effort and zero skill to obtain. And now, ironically, eating raw has been rebranded, turned into a wellness trend, a lifestyle hashtag, something sold back to us in juice bars and diet books. What was once pure necessity, pure survival intelligence, got flattened into a marketing angle. Your ancestors cracked bones open with rocks because their lives depended on every last calorie. We skip the marrow and reach for a granola bar instead. So here's what we actually know. Long before fire, early humans were already eating strategically, butchering animals with stone tools at Oldaway Gorge, cracking bones for marrow, scavenging kills from predators, and almost certainly foraging raw plants that time simply erased from the record. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Humans didn't become human because we found an easy way to eat. We became human because we got relentlessly, creatively good at the hard way. Think about it. The jaw mutation that shrank our bite. The scavenged kills mistaken for hunts. The marrow cracked open with nothing but a rock and hunger. The brain that grew because the diet finally caught up. You are, right now, walking around with a body shaped by 2 million years of raw, unglamorous, brutally smart eating. Every time you crave fat, Every time your jaw feels just a little too small for your own teeth, that's not a flaw. That's a memory. Long before there was fire, there was hunger, and hunger built us first.